Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar podcast. Excited for today's guest. She's a business growth strategist and coach, and she helps purposeful brands and founders to scale impact revenue without sacrificing the things that really matter, like time, freedom, and fun. Very excited to be rocking out today with Amy Birks. Hey, Amy, are you ready to rock?
100% ready to rock, Tim.
Awesome. So we always start off here on a good note. So tell me a story of success that we can be inspired by.
Oh, I love that you asked this question, by the way. I've been binging your podcast and listening to all your great interviews, and it's been so fun listening to other people's stories of success. So I just love that you start with positivity. So for me, lately, I think the most awesome success story has actually been for one of my clients. He came to me. He's got a full service video production company. He does amazing work to help nonprofits and purposeful brands to tell their stories of impact better, so that they can generate more revenue and just really do better work in the world, or more of it. And so he came to me and was in this place where he was feeling very overwhelmed by the amount of work that he had to do. Just like there were so many tasks and he couldn't really figure out, and not only so many tasks, but also so many ideas. And he's got a team to support, and he's got a kid at home and a family that he's trying to support. And in addition to that, he has a business partner who he wants to bring back on, who had to step away from the business for a while. And so what was really important to this client of mine was that he create some sustainability and predictability in his revenue, because he'd been kind of riding the revenue roller coaster like so many of us do as entrepreneurs. And so when Jason came to me, he was in that place, like a little overwhelmed and feeling a little scattered, and really needed some opportunities to focus. And over the last 6 months, we set a target for him to try to double his revenue. That was going to be like our, if we had a good, better, best goal, that was going to be like the best. If we could get him to double his revenue by a year from when we started, then that was going to be great, because then he might be able to bring his partner back on and he could feel a little bit more stable. And so what's so awesome is that a few weeks ago, so not even, 6 months after we've started, he's doubled his revenue. We're on our way to tripling it by the end of the year. He's released tons and tons of work that doesn't really fulfill him. He's focused on the things that actually matter. He's got a much more clear, specific trajectory to how we're going to do even quadruple what they did this year, next year. And his partner is on his way to coming back on board. And so it's very cool to get to celebrate wins like that with my clients. And I love when, success like that is my favorite kind.
Success of any kind is my favorite kind. That's awesome. What a great story. But now I like to kind of balance that a little bit, because not everything goes as planned. And sometimes sometimes you do hit a bad note. So I'm wondering, along your journey, is there something that didn't go as planned and some way we can get out of it?
Nope. I've had the absolute perfect journey. Nothing has ever gone wrong. It's been like 100%. I just pick all the right paths and walk them. And it's been super easy from day one for 9.5 years.
And then
or
you
not.
wouldn't learn anything.
Or not. Right. Exactly. Or not. Certainly, like I said, I've been doing this for 9.5 years for myself. And I think that, like you said, right, there's something really awesome about the bad notes when we hit them, and what else is possible. We get to learn, we get to grow. And so there have been plenty of those opportunities for me. I say all the time that actually the 3 things in my life that are the most amazing personal development paths for me are being a mother, dating, and having my business. I just learned so much about myself every time I venture forth into something new within my business, within my journey as a parent, and then dating. Lots of jokers. And so, learning is great. And so recently, I think, in the last 5 years or so, I went through a divorce, and it was really traumatic. And, as I said, I have a daughter. She's 7 now, but she was 2.5 when it was starting to unwind. And I had my business, right? And I was like the primary earner for our family as well at the time. But, we had 2 incomes in the household. And so as the divorce started to unfold, it was really awful. I mean, really ugly, really traumatic. And I think that, we're humans in this entrepreneurial journey. And so stuff like this happens. We hit, bad notes, we hit bad patches. And so for me, it was my divorce. And it created the opportunity for me to actually like be in this position where I thought the business was going to go under. I was actually really certain that the business was going to go under, and I didn't know what to do about it. I was in this place where, I could not for the life of me do the activities that I would normally do to generate revenue, because talking to people or, trying to have those conversations that would lead to new client relationships was just too hard. Like I was so worried. I was so afraid of what was going to happen next as the bank balance kept dwindling lower and lower and lower, and the credit card limit kept getting racked up to the topmost point. Like every day became more and more and more of a panic. And so I came to a point where I knew that I had to somehow trust and surrender, but like, the rent also has to be paid like 3 days from now. And what am I going to do about that? And so I had some sort of a profound spiritual awakening along that journey, and got to a point where I realized that, gosh, if I could, like there are a couple things that I really was so afraid of happening throughout that. And one was losing my business and having to get a job. And the other was losing my house. And if either one of those things happened, I was like, I can't, like, if that's going to happen, I'm going to die. Like, that's what it felt like. I could die if either of those things happened. And so the fear was really paralyzing and made it impossible for me to really grow, because every conversation I was having was like, this person better become a client or I might die. I might actually die. And so once I was able to like kind of soften to those fears and say like, well, okay, I mean, like it would suck if the business went under, and it would suck if I had to like go move in with my aunt or something like that. I wouldn't really want to do that, but I'm not going to die. I could accept that might be a possibility. And something about creating that room for acceptance allowed me to then start to see some alternatives. There just wasn't any space to see any of that when I was in the terror of, oh, good Lord, the rent has to get paid, and how am I going to do it? And so what was amazing is that it created the opportunity for me to create some space around the potential. And then that allowed me to see that, oh my gosh, my business needs to be so much simpler than it is right now. I have way too much complexity. I'm doing way too many things. I have way too many offers. I have too many activities. And this thing absolutely has to become lean and mean and start to work twice as hard so that I can work half as much, because now my new reality is that my daughter is only going to be with me for half of her life. And so once that realization hit, that like, wow, my kid is only going to be with me for half her life, every moment is going to count. Everything changed. And they say necessity breeds invention. And I revamped the whole business model and haven't really deviated much from it in the last 4 years, because it's so critically important to me that I be there for her in the moments when she's with me. And now I work about, 12 to 15 hours a week. I've got a 6-figure business, and it supports us and doesn't require me to be the foundation for the business. The business has become the foundation for our life.
Wow. That's a powerful story. And I feel it too, because I actually went through a divorce 15 years ago. And about 15 years ago. And not long after that, I actually got laid off from a job as well. I was working as now, mind you, I'm a very, very overconfident person. And so I did not worry too much about either of those things. I just kind of moved forward. But I will say that the experience of having 50-50 with an ex, and recognizing that every moment does count, that was a huge push forward for me as well, to number one, to start a business and be self-employed, because I wanted to have more control over that, and I want to be able to go to his events and all that stuff as well. And I do think that knowing that half your time you're not gonna, like, I find that you really do appreciate the time that you are with your child when you have that 50-50 thing going on. So it was a huge inspiration for me too. So I'm glad to hear that it worked out well for you, because I'd be lying if I didn't say it was scary at times, but I just sort of like brushed it off and went, no, it needs to work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that it's also sometimes different for men than it is for women, right? Like you, as a man, you have an expectation that you're just going to have it all together. You got your SHIT together and you're just
Yep.
going to keep doing the thing and you got to show up and keep doing the thing. Right. And so, I think for women too, we're like, I mean, like it's my job to be the mother, to be the nurturer, and to be available 100% for this kid. And now I only get her 50%. Like, whoa, oh my goodness! It was really a reckoning moment in my life, and it's been amazing too, because not only has it created the opportunity for me, like you said, right? I think you made a great point about appreciation. I appreciate every moment that I have with her, and certainly, right? She's 7. There are times where I'm like, "You are driving me crazy, child," but
Yeah.
for the most part, she is just like I look at families that are together all the time, and as much as I would love to have her with me all the time, I also know that I have a much deeper appreciation for her and for what makes her so magical and awesome than I would if we were together all the time. And it's also created this amazing opportunity for me, like through simplification of my own business model, to be able to bring that to my clients, like the one, Jason, who I was talking about earlier, right? The reason that he's been able to now will have tripled his revenue by the end of the year is because we stripped away all the things that don't matter. He's got a family. He wants to be able to be with them too. He's got a team that supports him, and being able to find the right things that help his team develop and to delegate things to them that aren't the most highest value tasks for Jason to be focused on as the CEO and founder, right? Like all of that was born from my ability to say, well, gee, I got to figure this out. Like I can't not, I'm not gonna die. I'm not gonna let my family not be supported. I just have to figure this out.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's funny because I mean, if I were to like even give someone who's in a relationship that they're still together and they have kids, I would definitely recommend having some sort of 50-50 custody thing going on, even in a relationship where the parents are still together. Because yeah, I mean, having your time off was huge too, because I was able to catch up on all this stuff. I was able to have a social life, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that I think you're right. I think it is a lot harder for women because I think that they are sort of like programmed that no, you're supposed to be in the child's life all the time. You should not have your own time.
A hundred
And
percent.
yeah, so it would have been harder. Probably would have had a lot more guilt about spending some time on your own. But I imagine that it probably ended up working because you were able to separate that a little bit, right?
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. I still like I that the word guilt, right? I think that's a really big thing, and I'm sure that you feel some measure of that, right? If you're out on on your own time when your kid is with his
Yeah.
mom, right? Being able to do the things that you want to do and have a life, and there are times where I know for me as a woman that guilt is crushing at times to be able to say like, is it okay that I'm enjoying the fact that I get to pop away for a weekend to Atlanta and like hang out with a dude? Is that okay that I'm really happy about that? I still miss my child at the same time. I miss her terribly. And I wish that we were together all the time. I wish that. But I agree with you. I keep reading, like I spend a lot of time looking at intentional parenting resources and things like that, and so often I see this where they talk about that idea, especially if you have more than one kid, like being really intentional about how you spend time together so that you can create those that, like, we take everything for granted. I think it's so easy to do that when it's right in front of our faces all the time, and so the guilt, the appreciation, like I think it all goes together for sure.
Totally. So now what about let's get back to business a little bit. Now, uh when you're building a business, you need to have fans. You need to have people that are coming to your sites. You need to be able to have people that are buying things from you. So what is your approach to generating business?
I love this question. Thank you for asking. I think it's really interesting because for me, when I work with my clients, it's really about helping them find their way. So, it's like my whole ethos is that it's about finding leverage and it's about aligning your tactics with your values, and especially as it relates to marketing, because I think it's very, very easy as a business owner to look at what everybody else is doing and look at what's trendy and to be like, oh, I have to be on that platform and I have to be on that platform and I have to be on that platform and I have to do this and also this and also this and also this. And that's how you end up in this like very, very, kind of hustle culture, working 60 hours a week to try to like pay the bills sort of scenario. And call shenanigans on that all the time. I wrote a book called The Hustle Free Business, and it's really about this idea that it doesn't have to be that hard, and that really, if you can find the most leveraged activities that also feel good to do and get results, then that's like the trifecta of magic that allows you to have a business that can operate at 15 hours a week and generate 6 figures a year. And so for me, that looked like simplifying my business, my offerings, right? I have one thing that I do and I offer it 2 ways. And again, for 4.5 years, I haven't deviated. It's only now that I'm even just starting to dabble in like considering diversifying my offerings, but keeping your offering simple and then finding the channels that work best. And what I tend to believe, I'm never one that's going to say like, follow my formula and do these steps exactly as I did them and you'll have the same results, because we're all built differently. And just because Gary Vee did it this way doesn't mean that it's going to work the same for me or for you. And so, but the one thing that I do always encourage my clients to try and to really lean into is connection. Because to me, relationships, connection, it's like the absolute shortcut to everything. And so my business model and my marketing model has been based on what I call the 3 C's. And it's I care, I'm curious, and I want to connect. And it's just that, like for the last 4 years, I just show up in the rooms where I know that my rooms, like virtual, online, in person, whatever, where I know my people are, and I actually care about them. And I am wildly curious about, like, I care about their success. And if they're business owners, I'm like so excited about their growth trajectory and what's going to happen for them next. And so because of that, I'm super curious about what they're doing, how they're doing it, where they're going next, so that I can find a way to be able to provide some value, whether it's with me and what I do, my services, or with my amazing network of partners and folks that are doing amazing things in the world. And so I just show up and I connect, like, authentically, transparently, without any transactional nature to what I do. And I think sometimes that's tricky, because I think that our, the fear that lives inside of us when we're like, oh, SHIT, the rent is due, like that creates the opportunity to show up in a conversation and actually not really connect and just be there in a transactional nature.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Marc Mawhinney from Natural Born Coaches, and I want to give 2 very big thumbs up to Tim Melanson and his Creative Crew agency. I have been using them for a long time, and I am 100% happy. They get the job done right, they're fast, and they let me focus on my business. I don't have to worry about anything. So again, I want to give them 2 very big thumbs up. I have no problem recommending them. I don't give testimonials for everyone because my name is attached to it, but I gladly do so for Tim and the Creative Crew agency. So use them, you won't regret it, and good luck.
Man, so much good stuff on that. But I think you're right. The one thing that has always stayed the same is relationships. And because you're right, the tactics sometimes change. Like, I mean, the world is changing so fast that maybe something that did work 5 years ago is just not going to work today. It's just, it is what it is, right? And I think that that's what people get wrapped up in that stuff. And especially considering there's a lot of coaches out there that are selling things that don't work anymore. Right?
My
And
gosh,
I mean,
such a thing.
It just, it is what it is. However, one of the things that always does work is people, is connections, is relationships. I mean, your best referral sources are going to be the people that you've done good work for. So as long as you just do good work and make sure you stay in contact with the people you did good work for, then you probably will be fine, right?
100%. Yeah. And I think just having, like, there's an interesting line that I think we can tread between, because I always talk about, making connections for the sake of making connections and building and nurturing relationships because it's worth doing, and adding value, right? Like, I think that's something that's really important, even if you haven't exchanged currency, right? Like, even if you haven't exchanged money, like these days, again, like this is very new, but like I've started creating content for social media again, and I was off social media for a couple of years, and I'm finding it really, really satisfying to be adding value for people on social media again, because I know that it's worth doing. Yes, I know that doing it is also going to eventually connect some dots that will lead to revenue for me, but I'm not doing it so that will happen. I'm doing it because it's worth doing. And I think that it's tricky sometimes to actually really be in that space where you can say, yeah, I'm like, it's worth doing. I'm doing the thing and I'm unattached and I'm not like doing this so that XYZ will happen, you know?
Yeah. Well, and doing that is, I mean, you learn through teaching and you learn through doing. So the more you do it, even if it is, putting it out there on social media, the better you're going to get at what you do. So yeah, it definitely is worth it, just because it's practicing the fundamentals. And in music, that's what it's all about, is practicing the fundamentals over and over and over and over again.
100%.
And that's what providing value out to your network does. And one other thing that I'll add to that is that there's always somebody that's going to be ahead of you. There's always going to be someone that's behind you. And so no matter what you put out there, I mean, I know that for myself, I think, oh, I'm about to do a video and I'm like, oh, but everybody knows that. Well, that's not necessarily true. Not everybody knows that. There's going to be someone
Nope.
that's not going to know it. So you're better off to just put it out there. What's the worst that happens, right? You have a video that nobody
Totally.
looks at, I guess, right?
Totally. 100%. I was so under that mistaken impression when I first started my business. And it's been amazing, how much I think even now, like 9.5 years later, I still have those moments where I'm like, everybody knows this. And then I throw something out there and there are so many people that are like, oh, this is exactly the message I needed today. Yeah. And the other thing I'll say too, that I think is so great for me about being back on social media is that I'm learning so much about what else is possible for my business, right? Like I mentioned, diversification of my offering. So I've had this one way that I work with people. My typical clients tend to be, earning 6 figures up to 7 figures, and they're trying to scale. And they've had an established business and they're like doing the thing, they're purposeful brands, that sort of thing. And my sense was like, I've had this hypothesis that I could also add value for corporations, right? Like bigger companies also have this opportunity to simplify what they're doing, to become more operationally efficient, to, have more, simplicity in their, like all the different things related to their customer journey. But what I didn't expect was that in being willing to employ my 3 C's, I care, I'm curious, and I want to connect, I have met all these side hustlers, like people who are starting building businesses or have been trying to build businesses, who are in the same boat, who are feeling very much overwhelmed, very much like I'm doing all the things and I'm not really profitable yet. And I'm like, my wife is tired of finding me on the couch 3 a.m, like building the website, so I think that there's so much that we can also learn about our ideal clients, about the other possibilities that exist for us. And I think, by the way, that it's so awesome, right? Like here I am now in this, like, wow, there's this new space. There are all these people here who need simplicity in their budding businesses so that they can build it in a way that feels more sustainable. And so I also love that you are building something new for that same audience, because I think it's so, like, there's so much potential for people right now, especially who want to build businesses and have them grow. And so the fact that you're getting ready to create, or maybe by the time this airs, we'll have something for them that's going to make it easier for them to do it in a sustainable way that allows them to get traction quickly to earning revenue. I just think that's such a gift.
Yeah. I think right now we're going through a massive change in the way that people are viewing their careers in the future. I mean, back when I was in high school, it was all about getting a job and climbing a ladder and retiring. And
right.
I don't think, I mean, that's long gone. That was long gone when I even thought it was real. But still, I mean, now it's a matter of, those just about everybody has some sort of side hustle now. And it's just growing. So yeah, I know that there's a lot of resources, and like you say, I mean, by the time this airs, I should have my program in place where you can get a landing page for starting your business. And I mean, that's super important now, that you don't rely on the social media platforms in order to run your business, because that's changing as well. And
every
you could get a
day,
page
constantly.
Yeah,
it's just constantly changing. It's totally unpredictable.
you have to own your business, own your platform. Now, that doesn't mean you don't use the social media platforms, but it's just like, relying on a specific coffee shop, for example, to do all your business. And then what happens if that coffee shop shuts down? Now you've got no business. You've got to actually get a business card, don't you? Right. So that you can connect with them if that coffee shop is closed one day. Right.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
And so it's the same thing with websites and business.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's great. And I love that you guys are going to make that accessible for people so that they can just get their thing off the ground in a way that, allows them to get traction. Because I think so often when business owners are just starting out or are like side hustling and also trying to maintain their full-time job to allow their bills to be paid at the same time, we just get in our own way so much. We are just constantly in our own way. And so I love that you're going to make it easier for people to get out of their own way by providing this solution that allows for this very, very cool, important piece of their business real estate to be made available to them in a way that will make it easier for them to do it.
Totally. So let's talk a little bit about the band, about the people that you have around you. Now, I'm sure you're not doing this all alone now.
Not
So
anymore.
tell me about who's in your team and how'd you find them?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So what's interesting is that I have been mostly doing this on my own for a really long time, and I have had support in different ways and means for over the years. But for like the last 3 years, I haven't really had any support. I've just been like, it's my business model has been so simple that it hasn't been required. And then I started to notice that there are things that I have to do in my business that I really don't enjoy doing that create resistance. I was talking about how we get in our own way. And I think that that's a really big piece of it, is that we are humans having an entrepreneurial experience or entrepreneurs having a human experience, really. And that because there's this little human inside of us that is like, I don't like doing that. This sucks. I don't want to do it at all. Then it creates all these opportunities to create drag within our businesses. And so I kept seeing that. I was piquing the potential of getting back on social media, of diversifying my revenue sources, of creating, a bigger platform again. And I was like, gosh, I don't want to have to do all of this on my own. And so, so I've recently engaged a VA team, and I found them because of my connections, because I care and I'm curious and I connect with people all the time. And so, I was connected to an amazing team, who I've got, like an OBM who like is the cat herder, and she's got a whole team of people that do all the little things that I need done. And it's been amazing. And then in addition to that, I've got, brilliant guy who he and his team helped me create some of my LinkedIn content. So we work on it together, and then I don't have to do all the heavy lifting of the content creation. And he is so unbelievably good at what he does. His name is Niall Ratcliffe, and they're the Ratcliffe Brothers Agency, and they're just amazing and such fun to work with. Like they are just such great, and they're young. They're like 21 and 20 or something crazy like that. And they are brilliant at what they're doing. And it's really working. It's like super helpful. But what I also love about, this idea of the band is like for somebody like my client, Jason, like all of my clients currently, they have team members that help them. They have their band mates that are like, on the journey with them. And what I love is when we can find the right people to come in to help make our lives easier as founders, then we get to focus on the tasks that really matter. Like my friend Todd Herman talks about $10 tasks, $10 an hour tasks, and $1,000 an hour tasks. And so it's not like I'm not paying anybody $10 an hour to go do the things that I don't enjoy doing. Like, a $10 an hour task for me is like, repurposing my content, which is actually really valuable, but it's not something that I want to do or am very good at. And so I'm paying somebody more like $45 an hour to do it. But like for me, that's like, I can't be bothered. It's going to create a bunch of resistance and drag. It's going to take me forever to do it. It's not a good use of my time. $1,000 an hour task for me is doing something like this, like showing up and having a conversation with somebody like you, or being in the right rooms and meeting people and connecting with them and actually caring about them and helping connect dots to resources that are going to help them grow, things like that. And so I love when I get to work with my clients where we get to look at what are the things that they're actually doing and how can we align their activities with their values in a way that allows them to be leveraged so that they can then take the stuff that doesn't work and find the right resources to help them continue to grow without it all having to be on their shoulders. Because we already carry so much responsibility on us as founders as it is.
Love it. And the best thing about doing that and about assembling a band is that you get the opportunity to find people that are following their passion and their dream too. And, the things that you don't like, that's what they thrive on. So, we're
Totally.
just, putting it back into the ecosystem, right? So that
yes.
we can all be successful together.
Yeah, I love that. And I forgot to mention that I'm actually working with a branding agency as well that are I've got an amazing partner with that, and she's helping me really redesign my whole customer journey. And that is so exciting because she loves doing it. And she loves working with women just like me who are single moms, who are doing the thing. And she's like, I can conceptualize all of this so that you don't have to. And I'm like, oh, Thank goodness, because I don't want to. My brain, it hurts my brain. So I love that you get to be that for your clients too. They can come to you and say, like, give me a visual identity that works, create that landing page for me. I really need it. And I have spent days and hours and months and years feeling like this is not good enough for me anymore. And now I just want to hand it over.
Nice. So let's talk about learning from the best. Now, do you hire coaches yourself?
Yes, I know. I feel like I should have mentioned them as part of my band, because I do. I have several coaches and have had other coaches over the years too. I think it's so wise as a founder to be willing to say, I am not the smartest person in the room when it comes to, anything and everything. And so at the moment, 3 coaches that I work with, and they all provide a different level of support. Like one of them happens to be my best friend, and I'm so very lucky that I get to work with her, because Kelly Sheets is just like a brilliant leadership and personal development coach. And what's so awesome is that I think for people like us, right? Again, we're founders, but we're also humans. And because we're like humans, we get in our own way. And so having, I think, somebody in your corner that can not only point out your personal blind spots, but like doing that and growing as a human, as a person, allows us to become a better leader, to become a better CEO, to become a better entrepreneur, to like be able to spot the potential and the opportunities. And I know that my business growth has been commensurate with my willingness and ability to personally grow as well.
Totally. Yeah. And that's the thing. Number one, we do all have blind spots. And if you don't recognize that, well, then that's a blind spot.
100%. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
But now I know in music, so for like as in my band, so as a front man, I always want to be the worst musician in my band.
I love that.
And I think that's important. I mean, because really, when it comes down to it, as a leader or in your business, your job is to provide vision. It's to do all the things that are not really the grunt work aspect of it. And those people have to be very, very good at what they do in order to support you to be able to be confident enough to go out there and really promote your business at a high level. If you have surrounded yourself with people that you're constantly teaching, then I'm not sure if you're necessarily going to be able to be freed to do the things that you need to do in order to really grow, right?
Totally, 100%. And that has been my experience too, because I actually hired a different agency to help with some of my content earlier, before I ended up with these two, the VA team and the other guy, and Niall and his team for my LinkedIn stuff. And I was like, oh man, I am, this is a heavy lift. Like I really, I'm very picky because I'm a marketer and, and a copywriter. Like words I'm very specific about it. And I wanted to give it time, and I'm like, I don't have that much time that I can really spend on this. It's just not, I had to really look at it and say like, okay, can we get up to speed fast enough? I don't think so. And so, I think it's tricky sometimes to make assessments ourselves too, by the way. Like I think one of the things that I love about what I get to do with my clients is that I sit at the 50,000 foot level and am also kind of like the Jiminy Cricket on their shoulder. And I'm able to see the whole field of play, right? Like you mentioned it, you said this, right? Like we have the vision as a founder. We can see all the way out into the distance for where it is that we want to go. And then we can see 3 feet in front of our faces, and that's about it. And so the blind spots, the opportunities, the potholes, the potential, like we can't see all of that between here and there. And so it's awesome for me that I get to be that for my clients. I get to hold the vision. I know exactly where it is we're going to go. I've got this GPS brain that's going to plot the way to get there. And it's going to be the most effective, efficient, fun, and it's going to create the most money possible. And it's going to be awesome. But I'm also going to be able to see like, this is where we've got some really great potential. This is how we're going to stay on focus, on track and focus. This is, where we want to avoid this pothole right here for the things that they can't see themselves. And I think that's another really, really important thing to consider as a business owner, is having that kind of support, because you just can't see everything when you're that close to it.
Love it. All right. It's time for your guest solo. So tell me what's exciting in your business right now, Amy.
Oh, there are so many things, but I think that there are a couple of things. There are a couple of things I'm really excited about right now. I've got, like I mentioned, I've been on LinkedIn and have been learning that there's this cool opportunity for folks who are building businesses on the side as they are working their main jobs. And so I'm seeing this really cool potential to take what I do with established business owners and apply it to side hustlers too. And so I'm developing a new program that hopefully will be ready for release. I'm guessing around the first of the year is my sense, maybe sooner. But by the time this recording is up, I'm going to have a landing page where people can come and get some, more like sign up to get some more info about it and learn about when it's going to be released. It's so that's going to be exciting. I'm calling it the Hustle Free Side Hustle. It's like a follow on to my Hustle Free business book. Just to help them really simplify what they're doing and get more traction without it having to be so hard or require them to be, up at midnight, like building the thing. And then the other thing that I'm excited about is, my coach and best friend, Kelly Sheets, and I have a cool thing called the Epic Experiment, where we're just having these very, very like interesting conversations about life and the things that hold us back and the things that allow us to be more powerful. And so some of the content I'm creating is about some of those really interesting, fun, weird, kind of like, what is this human experience all about sort of conversations. And so I'm psyched about that too.
Yeah, I like the sounds of that. How do we find out more about all this stuff?
Yeah. So if anybody's interested in learning more about when the Hustle Free Side Hustle is going to be released, you can go to amybirks.com/side hustle and just get on the interest list for that. And if you want to know more about the Epic Experiment, you can go to amybirks.com/epic. And if you just want to like follow along with some of the stuff that I'm doing, I'm on LinkedIn and you can find me there. I think it's whatever, linkedin.com/in/strategy ninja. And you can probably also find stuff about some of this on Instagram and Facebook, because I think my team is helping to repurpose things over there. But I am not, because I don't enjoy it.
Love it. I really enjoyed jamming out with you today. This was a lot of fun.
Me too, Tim. I love what you're doing. I love how you're creating all these opportunities for folks who want to, work from home and like do their thing and make it there. So yeah, good on you.
Yeah, let's get going. Let's reach our dreams together.
For sure. Yes, 100%.
Right on. So thank you so much for rocking out with me today. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment, and we'll see you next time on the Work It On Rockstar podcast.